Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Prince Temet, Bibha, Rashi, Deepa, Binal. How are you all? Deepa doing well?
Good.
Good. Yeah, so today Basabdi also has joined. She is in the waiting room. Yeah. Rajeshwari is also joining. Welcome Basabdi. Welcome Rajeshwari. Welcome Ansu. Great. Whoever possible, if you can just start your video so that at least the virtuality is lessened. Temet,
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Just give me a few minutes. I'll try to get onto the camera.
Yes.
Hi,
Take it,
everyone.
please. Yes, I am with the name of Kavya. Prince,
Oh,
how
I'll change.
are you doing?
All fine, all good.
Great. Temet, could you please identify yourself?
Vijay here, sir.
Oh, Vijay, with the name of Temet, no say.
I will change. Know thyself.
Know thyself. Okay, I didn't know this phrase. Okay. How are you doing, Basabdi? How's your fever?
Little better today.
Okay, fever is still there?
Weakness is there, lot of weakness. Fever very, very less.
Okay.
Weakness is there. So I'm taking a lot of rest. Thank you.
Great. How are you doing, Viva?
Good.
Outside?
Yeah, because it's so cold in the house, so I came to my neighbor's terrace. Nice sun. We've not had
Yes,
sun for many days. So
I came to know this
holding.
morning only. I came to know North Agra, Delhi is without sun. Yeah. So today
Yeah.
sun came. Okay. Good.
Yeah, only now it has come out, so I quickly came up.
Hi,
Yeah.
Shilpi. Good afternoon. Shilpi's network is maybe. Okay. Yes. So anybody is having any topic or any point, any reflection in mind? Because these sessions are agenda-less. Prince, you have joined for the first time? Inquiring
Yeah,
session?
this meeting I joined first time.
Yes. So these sessions are usually without any agenda, without any planning as such. Whatsoever flower in. Yeah. Anyone? Viva ma'am, you want to say something? You are mute. You are mute.
Looking for the button because it's hard to see in the sun. Yeah, so nothing as of now. I mean, there's nothing that's coming up. But yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Binal has
Advait had a query. He was asking me that why during healing crisis he ends up losing weight, especially when he is constipated, so he's not passing motions, nor is he having any intake of food. So, given that, what is happening, which is resulting in the weight reduction?
Yeah, perspiration, the breathing out. So all the toxin elimination go on actually in all these three channels. So even though the stool is not passed, but then also toxins are reduced in the body during the healing crisis.
So, as much as like 2-3 kilos would be a result of part, I mean, out breath and the first breath.
Sure. For sure, mathematics is that only, right? Somewhere it is loosened, and we have these four channels: stool, sweat, urine, and breathing out. So definitely somewhere it has gone out. So if the stool is not passed, then these three are left, and which is which is a good news actually, because if these three channels are active, then your actual toxins are out. Stool is a foreign toxin, so those three filtering routes are the blood purification routes. Right? Are you able to comprehend, Prince? Are you able to comprehend this response? Yes.
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 What about the reduction in like food? I mean, one ends up eating lesser
Yeah.
also. So does that also, I mean, contribute to the reduction in the weight?
Question was that why the reduction of weight is there, even then, there was no stool that he has passed. Then also there is a reduction in the weight. Like the reduction, increase in the weight could have been like the food. Forget about the intake. Intake is constant. Suppose intake is also stopped. Then the weight is expected to be stopped constant, maybe according to the question, right? So, but it is not so, because elimination is going on.
Hmm.
Elimination is going on. Yes. Shilpi,
I
how
have
are you
one
doing?
more question.
I'm good, sir.
Network was stable that time we were trying to interact. Yeah. Yes. Great.
Yes.
Yeah, Binal. Binal, you think?
Can we attribute that the human population is increasing because somewhere in the universal consciousness there is also evolving? I mean, I'm just curious to know what could be, the reason behind this.
For what?
Like we have the higher neural capability in that sense compared to the other creatures. So in that sense,
Higher.
is the
Okay.
I mean a complex neural
Yeah.
rather than
Complex.
so
Different
is
kind of,
that
yeah.
a result of universal consciousness also is evolving and it's reflected in the increase in the human population? Just a random question which has come to my mind.
I couldn't comprehend the question itself. Like, what is the connection? Can anybody explain this? Human universal consciousness, and what exactly you are trying to connect with this?
That there could be other. I mean, we are seeing that the population is increasing of this, organism called Homo sapiens, where the neural connections are more complex. So, is
And
that
how you are arriving at this point that population is increasing?
like we see the human population on this planet is increasing?
No, this is increasing. What is the basis of that conclusion?
Like a statistic, like we were so and so number prior in terms of the numbers.
So that's an obvious thing. Like if the progeny is happening, then the population will be increasing. So this increasing is a negative thing that that is being concluded.
No, in fact, it's the is it that the other species are rising up in the. I mean, it's an assumption, a lot of assumptions, but I thought I would still put it in the group. Where somewhere there is.
Is very much evident with the progression of the human species, perhaps. There is no reduction in the population, perhaps. So evolution is happening. So with that, yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
say something? I just want to say what my perspective is. So
I also see that if the like total universal vitality is constant, I'm assuming that, I don't know that is true or not, but if that is also there, then I also see if you see the like centuries back and all, people used to have very long lifespan. Now lifespan is reducing. So if you see, I'm just going mathematical. So if you see that, that could also mean the vitality assigned to each individual is reducing with the generation by generation. That's why maybe they are more live.
I don't know. I don't know. This is assumption based.
Yes,
conclusion.
assumption based.
There could be some
Yes.
possibility of this. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So that is why the reduction of the lifespan. I still couldn't get the connection of Binal's proposal. So what you are connecting to the universal consciousness? What is the exact proposal I couldn't get so far? Can you rephrase? Or maybe later on, little later, if you are, yeah. Thank you. Yes.
I was having a question in relation to universal consciousness. I was wondering basically, like, if there is such a thing as universal consciousness, and then there is individual consciousness and awareness of what one is aware of. And like, if there is universal consciousness, then what separates one's individual consciousness from another? Because you can't know fully what another individual has in their consciousness. So I was just wondering what separates individual consciousness from each other, or from maybe the universal consciousness.
Anyone would like to take up this particular? Rajeshwari?
Yeah, Kalyan finally got my
Hi.
video. Yeah, okay.
You're back to Tiruvannamalai? Or
Yes, yes, just for a short time.
okay. Great. Yeah.
Mother was not keeping well, so I just came to kind of meet all of them. So we're going back probably another 2-3 weeks. Yeah, sorry.
So universal consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any reflection?
I mean, if I can just on what Deepa said, that I think the idea of I, or the identity that we, I mean, when I came back from that last session as well, and this was the whole exactly what was going on in my mind as well, that when and the question was, how do I know who am I, or what am I? And then when you question that, you say, okay, I am Rajeshwari. I have, I'm born on this date, my parents, my this and this, and it still perhaps doesn't answer who you are, because all what we understand as the I is an identity of something I have mirrored myself with outside me. And so without that, do I still exist? And the answer, at least I had, is yes, I still do exist. And so that to me was my real existence. That to me was me as that unison consciousness, or that awareness. And then at every point of interaction, which is like, for example, at this moment, when I am having this conversation in the group, I perhaps at that point in time go back to an identity of who I am as this name, and try to look at things and try and deal with things. But most often than not, we carry a lot of what we have been, let's say, in the previous minute, in the previous hour, previous day, and we continue to believe that summation of all that is me. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. My own journey of self-inquiry and questioning and trying to go deeper into this whole process was leading me to. And every time I held on to something that I was in the previous hour, previous day, previous month, year, whatever, and interacted in that moment, there was always holding on to some past and trying to be in the present, which can never happen, because you just have that moment, and that moment is the only reality from every aspect, from the physical reality of it as well. It is only that. But having held on to a multiple frames, if I could just give it with an example, I parallel, I mean, I could put it in tandem with a movie. The number of frames that are put together, and when they're put together, you see a movie happening. Am I coming through, or am I like just?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So when those, when I'm free from those frames that have been added up to what I am, and I'm just that single moment in that single frame. And this is not something you can mentally kind of construe to be there and do it. It's just that is the only reality of that moment. Everything else is something that I have held on to and tried to make a continuity to kind of just reinforce myself and my existence every moment. And how comfortable am I not existing without that? Or what is my idea, or do I carry an idea about my existence apart from that? I don't know if that sounded Latin and Greek.
This is somewhat meaningful that you are proposing, but I was actually trying to relate with Deepa's question that I feel too. Deepa, can you again repeat your question?
Yeah. So if I have an individual consciousness, let's say what I am aware of, my P1, P2, P3, and let's say anyone on the other side or any other individual has their own P1, P2, P3. And if there is such a thing as universal consciousness, then why is one's sort of consciousness separate from another's? Like I can't know another's consciousness contents, and yet there is something such as universal consciousness. So,
yes. So I would like to make it simple with our understanding, like any information. Suppose a tree. A tree is there, and that tree is a part of the universal consciousness. What does it mean? The tree has got its own information in itself, and you look at the tree, I look at the tree from different angles, and we reveal different or unique, there could be some overlapping, but definitely unique information is revealed by Deepa and Kalyan both, because of the spatial positioning. So the tree is the whole consciousness which is always there. We are mapping with our senses, which are unique for both of us and any of us. Like we are definitely spatially unique, uniquely positioned in this space, from where we are throwing our senses and trying to attach with that piece of information. And the portion that we attach to, that becomes the consciousness of that individual. the consciousness of Kalyan, the consciousness of Deepa. Are we able to comprehend? The universal consciousness is the truth which is existing for anyone and everyone to perceive based on their individual structure, their spectrum, their position, and based on that, everybody is trying to explore it. All the organism, it's not only about human organism, all the organism is trying to explore that truth, but ending up exploring a small portion of that. The whole tree can never be known. It is always immeasurable. That is why truth is always immeasurable. You know, what we can measure is how much I know of it. That's what is the unique disposition of the consciousness for individual organisms. Like this reflection came to my mind, perhaps. Is it comprehensible? Could you comprehend that?
How can we measure how much, like from
Nino, you're cutting. We
Nino,
can't hear you fully.
Your audio is not clear.
is now?
No, it's still breaking up.
If I could,
Okay, I'll see.
Minu, your voice is not coming. Yeah, Rajeshwari.
yeah, I mean, just I think I meant the same lines what you were saying, and I can completely comprehend. Perhaps an example that I'm just coming to my this is that you know, in the sea or in the ocean, it's the ocean. The ocean is, let's say, compared to the universal consciousness, and a bubble rising in it at that moment, which is of the same, but looks as a different entity and is dealing with another bubble. It's like, let's say, two bubbles rising, and they both seem to have an identity for that point of interaction. And then it just, it's and that is the spatial identification or the spatial existence that arises, which is unique, which is, let's say, a me and let's say a Minu, which could be an Anshu and a Kalyan, and that common point of interaction for that moment of space and time, where the interaction and exchange happens, which is again unique, because I am unique and so is Deepa, with our own I don't know if I call it the programming or if I call it the unique, would the word blueprint be
Existence.
yeah, right, yeah. And and yeah, so to me,
Does that touch your point, Deepa? These explanations somewhat?
Somewhat. I mean, the individual perspectives and the points of perspectives is something I understood. But then maybe I don't know if I have some ideas about what universal consciousness is or something. I'm wondering, like whether it is because it is common and I
Commonly
think
available. Commonly
Commonly-
availability of the truth is the universal consciousness. And now why the individual consciousness is very minuscule? Because of the assumption and imagination. If suppose an individual has created an I in them, so what is I actually? Apart from this existence, there is an imaginary I that we all create in our mind. Imaginary I. And what is that imaginary I? This is a collection of opinions. Collection of opinions, we can call it collection of beliefs, disbeliefs, whatsoever. So now the opinions, the choices, the beliefs, these all things are imaginary. These all things are imaginary, doesn't exist. An individual considers that these exist, but it doesn't. And that we understand that P3, P2 loop through which one depletes also. That's a different discussion altogether. But here, because of this assumption, whatever the consciousness one individual has created for himself or herself is an imaginary consciousness. There is no relation to the real information, the truth. Those are away because of this creation of I. Now, when the moment, suppose an inquiring person who is dissolving I every moment and doesn't have a static I created, maybe moment to moment basis that is being created and dissolved and it's going on. Now that individual doesn't carry any consciousness for that I, but a consciousness is attained. But a consciousness is attained, and it is a pure consciousness, which is aligned with the universal consciousness. And that consciousness, no matter how minuscule it is, with the comparing to the whole consciousness, but it has got the potentiality to go deep and increase by itself exponentially. Are you able to comprehend this?
How is
When
it going to be different from what was collected by him till now?
The knack of penetration. The knack of penetration, the penetrating knack is the difference. Otherwise, if we quantify, perhaps it is lesser. The content is lesser. The content of the consciousness maybe is very less compared to the individual who has a strong I and very so-called conventionally intelligent, having a lot of knowledge. So the content of that consciousness is larger, perhaps. But because of this imagination of I, it fails to align with the universal consciousness. Universal consciousness is nothing but the truth, which is existing. For everyone, it is there and it will remain there. It was there. So there is no doubt about it. Yeah. Prince.
I didn't get the alignment.
You didn't get the alignment?
The alignment, but yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I'm fully understanding. Maybe because it's like it sounds like it's a thing, the universal consciousness. Then, like if I'm aligning to that, versus that I understood that if there are no opinions and ideas and imaginations, then one will see things more clearly and there will be perceptory dynamism. But then to align with the universal consciousness, I think that, or is that only aligning? Is that what is aligning?
Yeah, when an
Maybe
individual
I
is
can-
I-less. Yes, also please.
Maybe I can put my understanding. So when this concept of idea of I is not there, and we are fully aware of, like, the physical I is always, like, physical valid I is always there, but the idea and imaginations are not there, then you are actually fully aware of your pure consciousness, your pure nature, which is actually the same as universal consciousness. That's why it is aligned to this, because it knows its true nature, and thus it is aligned to the universal consciousness.
Which is actually nothing.
It is actually nothing. Yes.
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 So and that nothing is the key, Deepa, because this particular consciousness is of nothing. It is aligned with the universal consciousness.
Can you please
Because
say
But
what is
it
nothing?
is of nothing. It is of nothing. But then what it has known out of physical experiences, that understanding is always there. So
yeah,
nothing.
understanding with the inquisition.
Yes.
So what is
What
the
is
nothing?
nothing?
Yes, what is
Yeah.
nothing that Shilpi is asking? See, nothing, because there is no conclusion. You know, something means there are conclusions. Every moment we are making conclusions. Every moment we are making conclusions, and that becomes something imaginary and assumptuous basis, and that becomes a load for the individual. And though the individual is ignorant about it, but are you able to comprehend nothing and something here? So when that doesn't exist, no conclusion whatsoever, even if it is a physical experience, as Anshu was proposing, then also
Yeah.
one is inquisitive about it, questioning
Yes.
that,
Yes.
not concluding.
Actually,
That
when we say
there is
something,
no accumulation.
that means that something is some knowledge, some kind of fragmentation. Yes.
The
Yes.
content,
Yes.
that
Yes.
is
Yes.
talking,
Yes.
content of consciousness.
Because
So
what we are knowing also, that knowing also can keep changing, because everything is so alive and so there is no path and nothing to it. So it is so alive, every moment everything is changing. So we can even, so when we are concluding, we are actually trying to fragment it. And if we understand that every moment
and
everything,
without identifying the fragmentation, that's the primary
yes.
problem in this route of concluding. So
Yes.
we fragment, but we don't identify that as a fragment. The moment we start identifying that, yes, I have
Yes.
fragmented, it gets dissolved. That's the beauty of it. Are you able to comprehend somewhat, Deepa? Shilpi?
So
Yes.
I'm just sorry. Yes, on the fragmenting part, I want to just understand it a little more. When we are concluding, we are fragmenting.
Yes.
And if we are not concluding, then we are not fragmenting. How?
Come again? When we
When we
are
are not concluding, then we are not fragmenting.
Yes.
Fragmenting from what? From the whole.
Fragmenting from the whole. We are picking up a small portion of the whole. What is a basically opinion? What is an opinion? An opinion is a conclusion based on individual perceptory collection out of the truth. And that particular collection is surely a small, minuscule portion of the truth. So the interpretation, you're mute, Shilpi, if you're talking. Okay, fine. So that's all.
So even the universal consciousness is nothing per se.
Yeah, there is no content.
Universal consciousness. Why do we think that it is nothing? We don't know what it is exactly, but it exists. It's an existence that is available commonly. Why nothing?
No, but if we say something, then something actually to me appears like some kind of fragmentation.
Can I try another example to just?
Yes, Rajeshwari, we have just 2 minutes. Yeah, please, Rajeshwari.
Yeah, so it's like let's say we talk about I'm just giving a parallel example which we can all connect with our day-to-day life. But let's say we talk about the internet. Yeah, so the internet, let's say, is the universal consciousness in which you have everything available, but not everybody is consuming everything. And for you, you have a unique username and a password and an ID of Gmail or Zoom or your workspace, or so your individualized space in that whole universal consciousness. So while I am aware of that whole space of internet, I can never know it completely. It's beyond, it's not something to be sat and comprehended with or tried to contend with. It just exists there, and out of that, I operate out of my individual whatever momentary journey or that point that I need. So when the point is basically like now, for example, I have a Zoom ID all the time, but I am using it right now for a conversation between all of us. So that is the point and context of time and space. I try to bring an emergence there, or bring a
Let's rejoin.
Sorry?
Few seconds are left. Let's rejoin and continue. Yeah, with the same ID and password.